A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to another edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Arudhati Mudanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening. Today marks Easter Sunday, which celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Protest march against Prime Minister reaches Galigamur. Former President Chandrika Kumartunga comments on no confidence motion. CPC chairman says no decision to increase fuel prices. Now the stories in detail. The march organised to support the motion of no confidence against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe reached Galigamur today. The march has been organised by the Organisation to Protect the United National Party and the United National Freedom Front.
We began this march to urge the Prime Minister to stop ruining the country and leave. We heard that state media had reported yesterday that we have stopped the protest march. That is a lie. We request all of you to come together, setting aside our differences and send the Prime Minister home.
The march, which began this morning, reached the Kegol town via the Colombo Kandy main road. The estate community in the area joined the march, expressing their support.
We'd like to make a respectful request of the Prime Minister to leave. You have been there long enough. In the 3 years he has been there, nothing has been done for the country. The only thing he has done is allow his friends to break into the central bank. We wish to respectfully say this to all 225 members of the Parliament. You have been voted in by the people. If you wish to come before the people again, then chase away this Prime Minister. We say to the Prime Minister, whether you stay or you go, you have been defeated. Hold on to your self-respect and resign before the 4th.
We need to chase away this Prime Minister and appoint someone else. I lose my head every time I go into the kitchen. How much is a coconut? How much is a cup of rice?
The people of this country are demanding that the Prime Minister leaves.
They have stolen the EPF and ETF money that we have worked hard to save. We must change all this and bring forth a good government.
In the estate, 7 to 8 people live in a single room. Although we work every day, we don't have the wages to show for it. We do not have homes. We don't have clean water to drink and easily fall victim to kidney disease. A
coconut costs 100 rupees. Flour costs 100 rupees. It is the same story with rice. How can we live like this? The protesters then marched on to Galigamur.
If the government had the billions of rupees that were stolen through the bond scam, it could resolve all the problems faced by the people today. If we do not chase away this thieving Prime Minister and his cronies, we cannot prevent the people of this country falling deeper and deeper into the pit. We do not embark on this march to make me an MP or the President. We embark on this march because they have stolen the wealth of this country. This is why we say to the people, if you do not take to the streets when your rulers steal your money, then they will steal even more and make this country bankrupt. We invite everyone to join us on the next leg of the march from Nelumdeniya to Nittambua.
Welcome to Studio 3. I'm Ramesh Irgal for News First. Now, over the past couple of days, we've been talking about the constituents or the makeup of Parliament and how they could or whether they have reached a decision on how they vote for the no confidence motion against the Prime Minister that is due to be taken up on the 4th. Now, as you may see from my background, we are going to be talking about the Tamil National Alliance today. But before that, I want to give you a brief refresher on what we've been talking about over the past couple of days. We go over here where we see the makeup of Parliament, which we've been talking about for the past couple of days. The United National Front for Good Governance, UNFGG, has 105 seats. 43 seats belong to the UPFA, the governing party, 52 seats to the UPFA, that is sitting in the opposition, 16 seats to ITEC or Tamil National Alliance, which we are going to talk about. The JVP has 6, 1 seat to the EPDP and 2 members as independent MPs. The 105 consists of about 83 UNP members. The UPFA governing bloc on Friday came out and said that they will most likely support this no confidence motion and vote against the Prime Minister, but a final decision would be taken following a meeting with the President. The joint opposition, the UPFA opposition bloc, is the party that is bringing forward this no confidence motion. So the question is, how will the Tamil National Alliance, or ITAC, vote in this no confidence motion? Now, what you need to remember is the Tamil National Alliance, as the name suggests, is an alliance. It is made up of a number of different parties. The ITAC, Ilangai Tamil Arsu Katchi, has 11 seats. Tello, Tamil Elam Liberation Organization, they have 2 seats. Plot, People's Liberation Organization for Tamil Elam, they have 2 seats. The EPRLF has 1 seat. Now, this is how the TNA has its 16 seats. However, this is where the story takes a turn. ITAC parliamentarian M.S. Sumandiran, appearing at an event in Vellavath yesterday, said they do not have 16 seats votes for this no confidence motion, and instead they have only 15. And that is because the EPRLF member, whom I showed last, has said that he wants to take a decision which is not influenced by anything, including money, in this no confidence motion vote. Now, the TNA as a whole, without the EPRLF, will be taking a decision on what they need to do tomorrow during a meeting. This was also a view expressed by parliamentarian M.A. Sumandiran. So, who are these members who will be making a decision tomorrow? Let's take a closer look at these members of the Tamil National Alliance.
The Lanka Tamil Arusukatchi has 11 MPs in Parliament. They are leader of the party Mave Senadiraja, opposition leader R. Sambandhan, M.A. Sumantiran, Charles Nirmalanathan, Iswarapatham Saravanapavan, Sivaprakasan Sivamohan, Shivanyanam Sritharan, Nyanamuthu Sirinesan, Shanti Sri Skandaraja, K. Ture Ratnasingham, and Sinithambi Yogeshwaram. The Tamil Elam Liberation Organization, or the TELO, has 2 parliamentarians, leader Selvam Adekalanathan and K. Kodishwaran. The People's Liberation Organization of Tamil Elam, or PLOTE, also has 2 parliamentarians, Dharmalingam Siddharthan and S. Vyalendran. Sivashakti Anandan represented the EPRLF, or Elam People's Revolutionary Liberation Front, in Parliament.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the no confidence motion is being brought against the Prime Minister. So that is why it is going to be interesting to see how the Tamil National Alliance votes during this vote. Now, don't forget, R. Sambandhan is the opposition leader of our country. So it will be interesting to see if the opposition leader of the country and his party stands with the Prime Minister or with the people who are calling for his dismissal. Now, if opposition leader R. Sambandhan and his party decides to stand with the Prime Minister, then directly or indirectly they will be supporting the actions of the Prime Minister that is being highlighted through this no confidence motion, and that is his alleged links to the central bank bond scam. So, will the TNA, will the opposition leader stand with the Prime Minister or the people? That is the question. We posed this question to a former parliamentarian, and this is what he said.
A no confidence motion has been presented against the Prime Minister over the defrauding of billions of rupees through the bond scam. If the Tamil National Alliance votes against the no confidence motion, that means they condone the scam. So we suspect whether they are receiving some benefits for this. Ranil Wickremesinghe is Prime Minister with the blessing of the TNA too, with the expectation that he would resolve the problems facing the Tamil people. This hope has not been fulfilled over the past 3 years. MPs have been given 20 million rupees each. Sumantiran has received a security detail that is equal to the security detail given to a cabinet minister.
Now, you heard that former parliamentarian mentioning about parliamentarian Sumandiran. It will be also interesting to see how Sumandiran votes, because he is someone who first entered through the national list before being elected into parliament. If you remember, Sumandiran is also a parliamentarian who appeared before the Bond Commission. No, not as a respondent. He appeared in his professional capacity as an attorney at law. So, will he stand with the Prime Minister? I mean, standing with the Prime Minister has its own benefits. It may be a very lucrative decision to make because of perks and privileges that could be afforded, or will parliamentarian Sumandiran stand with the people, the public of this country. So it is something we should definitely look out for. There is talk that the parliamentarian is in two minds, so it will be very interesting to see what decision he takes in 3 days' time. What should the Tamil National Alliance do when the motion of no confidence against the Prime Minister is taken up for debate on the 4th of April? This is the question that we pose to you, the public, through our People's Power online poll, through the Newsfirst social media platforms. These are the latest results that you have given us.
What should the Tamil National Alliance do when the motion of no confidence against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is taken up? 48% voted for supporting the Prime Minister, while 52% voted not to support.
Also in local news, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga was questioned by journalists on the no confidence motion during a visit to Jaffna. The no confidence motion against the Prime Minister was brought up at a media briefing convened by the joint opposition in Colombo today.
The majority of the facts presented through the no confidence motion are to do with the major scam carried out at the central bank in broad daylight, the wrong and fraudulent behavior of the UNP led by the Prime Minister to mislead Parliament, and the national crime that eroded trust in the entire banking and finance system. All MPs in the joint opposition led by Mahinda Rajapaksa will vote for the no confidence motion on the 4th. The JVP has also said clearly that they will vote for it. As the executive president, the president will attempt to gather those in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, remove the Prime Minister and continue the government like he annulled the Economic Committee which took over the central bank. We have said that if the president forms such a government, if they stop what is harmful to the country and do what is good for the country, even though we are in the opposition, even though we will not take up any positions, we will act to safeguard the government.
Civil organizations have raised concern over a cabinet paper which was produced to extend the agreement reached with two financiers for the construction of 250 additional rural bridges.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs and Faisal Mustafa as the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government had produced a joint cabinet paper to the Cabinet of Ministers on the 27th. The objective is to further enhance the Rural Bridges project which was launched in 2014. The cabinet paper requests approval to obtain additional financing from German Deutsche Bank and the Netherlands Rabobank to procure and construct approximately 250 additional bridges. The proposal seeks approval for the construction of these bridges be given to the British and the Netherlands companies that have undertaken the ongoing projects. For the construction of 250 additional bridges, a sum of almost 10 billion rupees will be required. The UK construction firm has proposed just over 49 million British pounds, which is almost 10 billion rupees. The Dutch construction firm has proposed just over 52 million euros, which is almost 9.9 billion rupees.
This joint cabinet paper was presented to obtain approval for additional financing from the financiers which provided funding for the initial project. The Rural Bridges project is done by the Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government. However, the Prime Minister has intervened as the Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs to obtain national financing for this project. The question is, why is the Prime Minister getting involved in a project that does not come under this portfolio? The government pledged to create a system of good governance where all development projects would take place following a proper procurement process. However, this project is being approved without following any procurement process. We have serious concerns over this project because the Prime Minister is getting involved in a matter that does not concern him. In addition, commercial loans at high interest rates are to be secured for the additional funding required for these projects. These projects aim at developing infrastructure. This is not a project where extra income can be generated. Therefore, these projects require concessionary loans and not commercial loans and high interest rates. If this goes through with commercial loans, the country will be further choked in the debt trap. On the other hand, it will be done in violation of all good governance principles in the country. That is what we can see through the tabling of this cabinet paper.
The resurrection of Jesus Christ is of great importance in the Christian faith. Today, on Easter Sunday, devotees of Christ across the globe commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Christians reminisce the passion, death and resurrection of Jesus Christ throughout the Holy Week. They believe that Jesus Christ cleansed the world from sin through his great sacrifice and was resurrected to establish the kingdom of God. Under tight security at St. Peter's Square in Rome, tens of thousands of worshippers from around the world thronged to a mass celebrated by Pope Francis on Easter Sunday. Pope Francis, in his Easter address, called for peace in the Holy Land 2 days after 15 Palestinians were killed on the Israeli-Gaza border, saying the conflict there does not spare the defenseless.
Today we implore fruits of peace upon the entire world, beginning with the beloved and long-suffering land of Syria, whose people are worn down by apparently endless war. This Easter, may the light of the risen Christ illuminate the conscience of all political and military leaders so that a swift end may be brought to the carnage in course, the humanitarian law may be respected, and that provisions be made to facilitate access to aid so urgently needed by our brothers and sisters, while also ensuring fitting conditions for the return of the displaced.
The Pope also called for international assistance for Venezuela so that more people would not have to abandon their homeland because of the economic and political crisis. Easter Sunday was celebrated in Sri Lanka as well. President Maithripala Sirisena, issuing his Easter message, notes that the world will become a better, more beautiful place when there are people who love each other, value reconciliation among themselves, as well as honor the dignity of each other. He adds that all of us must pledge to create that kind of heaven in this world, as well as to create a new future by utilizing the path shown to us this Easter. Moreover, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, issuing his Easter message, highlights that Jesus Christ sacrificed himself for the good of humanity and bore his pain in great silence. His life shows that the whole world could be brought together through love, unity and equality.
Ceylon Petroleum Corporation Chairman Dhammika Ranatunga says that any increase in fuel prices should follow broad discussions with all stakeholders involved with CPETCO. The Sunday Times reported today that CPETCO is incurring a weekly loss of 266 million rupees.
Quoting an unnamed senior Treasury official, the Sunday Times reported that the government has no funds to keep propping up the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. The official had said the latest fuel crisis is very difficult to control, adding that by keeping petrol and diesel prices unchanged, the CPC is suffering an additional loss of 38 million rupees on a daily basis. The Sunday Times also quoted the Secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development, Upali Marasinghe, reporting that the state-owned corporation was losing 266 million rupees a week. Responding to inquiries from Newsfirst, CPETCO Chairman Dhammika Ranatunga said raising fuel prices was not the solution to the problem. Ranatunga said that instead of taking hasty decisions, the government must take a decision following a broad discussion with all stakeholders who will be affected by a raise in fuel prices. He added that the government does not have a proper policy in terms of fuel pricing.
We are of the position that a pricing formula for fuel must be introduced immediately in order to provide relief for the consumer. If a fuel pricing formula is introduced immediately and the loss per litre, which is sold at 117 rupees, is determined to be 13 rupees, then the price will be 130 rupees. However, it would be unfair to sell a litre at 130 rupees. That is why we say that if the price formula is introduced, then the taxes of 45 rupees per litre must be reduced and the fuel must be sold at existing prices at least.
Information obtained under the Right to Information Act has revealed that more than 900 SriLankan Airlines departures were delayed in February. The Sunday Times, which obtained monthly on-time performance or OTP data from January 2015 to February 2018, reported that in February alone, 280 flights had left Bandaranaike International Airport and other airports more than 1 hour late.
The information obtained by the Sunday Times reveals that of the 2,826 departures in February, 145 were delayed between 1 and 2 hours, 88 were delayed between 2 and 4 hours, 35 were delayed between 4 and 6 hours, and 12 were delayed by more than 6 hours. Of the 3,155 departures in January, 97 were delayed between 1 and 2 hours, 10 between 2 and 4 hours, 3 between 4 and 6 hours, and 3 more than 6 hours. Such disruptions translate into millions of dollars in losses for the airline. The Sunday Times also quoted airline insiders who claim that OTP data for March is likely to be worse. Unions have repeatedly criticized the airline's management and chief executive officer for the airline's accelerated slide since 2015. SriLankan has responded by contracting an international aviation consultant to float a restructuring plan. The Airline Pilots Guild of Sri Lanka said the loss of a critical operational certification called Extended Twin Operations or the ETOPS by the company prevents newly leased narrow-body aircraft from operating on a direct route between destinations.
This started over the past 2 months. We lost the ETOPS certification and this loss has caused changes in flight durations. Since we have to use longer routes, we constantly see delays in our turns. This could have a severe economic impact since passengers who take connecting flights in Colombo may not choose our airline because of the delays. The Katunayake Airport processes about 30,000 passengers a day. We handle about 80,000 pieces of baggage within the airport every day. While we require 100 staff to ensure the timeliness of baggage handling operations, at present we have less than 50 staff. We say to the government that we cannot even operate a retail shop in this way, let alone an airline.
The 2018 convocation of the Southeastern University of Sri Lanka was held at the BMICH in Colombo today. Secretary to President Austin Fernando and Professor Maitri Wickramasinghe of the University of Kelaniya spoke to the graduates at the occasion.
We find large number of graduates who seek employment in certain specific fields. You are not surprised to be reminded of arts graduates carrying out fast near ministers and governors' offices demanding teaching appointments. They do not opt for development officers' jobs, for example, because I believe the appointments entail officers have to work 8 hours a day as against 5 hours in teaching, which is a job that has about 3 months of holidays per year. Opportunities for tuition and easy child rearing at close range. They switch over to teaching from any other job which entails field work. You will be surprised to hear that quite unusually, Sri Lanka administrative service applications have dropped to a few thousands. If graduates are not prepared to take such challenges of competition, where are we heading as a nation? My plea to the graduates who pass out today is, please do not aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference.
Now, I have taught in Sri Lankan universities for over 27 years. It is my understanding, perhaps debatably, that our education system as a whole does not encourage our students to think analytically or critically or even creatively when it comes to employment. Optimal employment is still considered to be in the public sector, a government job, never mind the fact that the government institutions are overstaffed, bursting at the seams with employees. Even when there are opportunities in the private sector, and don't forget in self-employment, graduates in particular do not seem interested. I see this mindset as a dangerous obstacle in today's world, incapacitating the country not only in terms of employee empowerment and upward mobility, but also in terms of long-term planning, sustainable development, and productivity. I believe that you have been inadequately prepared for real life. Forgive me for saying this. It seems that you have neither been inspired with a vision nor the ambition to take a risk. Therefore, I urge you, as young women and men on the threshold of your future, to consider the multiple opportunities that are available to you today, spanning both the private sector and self-employment, without chasing politicians, for government sector opportunities. You should be making your own opportunity.
Parliamentarian Ravi Naik expressed these views after attending a function organised to distribute sports equipment to sports clubs in Colombo North.
I think we are witnessing the germ of the International Monetary Fund. Some people are working under their influence. Those who don't know anything are handling things without allowing the experts to handle matters. What we want is to do things that are favourable to the people. For example, with effect from today, a new tax bill comes into action. According to this new bill, taxing is to take place equally over the country. But when we were there, we showed this cannot be done this way. For example, the tax income in Colombo cannot be compared to the tax income of Badulla or Jaffna. The infrastructure facilities are different. The new tax system has not taken these into consideration.
The authority of the central bank, which was not there when you were the Minister of Finance, has now come under the Ministry of Finance. Though there were certain changes, there hasn't been an affecting change.
The people are aware that the central bank was not under me, but now it has come under the correct authority. However, even if there is a change of government, the heads in the government will not change. This is the actual situation.
Isn't there an alternative?
There are many alternatives, and they can be implemented if opportunities are given to talented individuals.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.